What might happen next? That question has occupied Nicholas Taleb for most of his life. For many years, he worked as a stock market analyst because, obviously, if you could predict the future only a little bit, you could make a fortune in the stock market. That was his field of study. That was his passion. And stock market analysis was perfect for him because literally every possible piece of data about companies and commodities has been collected for decades. With such a preponderance of information, surely there must be some way to predict the future just a little bit, right? Well, no, there isn't. In fact, and this is one of hundreds of wonderful factoids that Taleb tosses out, in the last 50 years, half of the overall returns earned in the financial markets were earned on the 10 most extreme days. 10 days out of 50 years made half the gains. What do you call a day like that? Well, Taleb would call it a black swan. A black swan changes reality far more than anything else. They are dramatic, amazing, incredible, fantastic events that cannot be foreseen and that cannot be created. They just happen. Of all the wonderful young adult books published every year, one sells hundreds of millions of copies and becomes a global phenomenon from China to England. Why do you know who Harry Potter is? How did that happen? There is no way of knowing how that happened. It makes no logical sense. And you could have 100% of the data available in the world, and you would be totally unable to predict when the next Harry Potter phenomenon will happen. And you would be totally unable to predict what the next Harry Potter phenomenon will be about. Reality's completely random nature eventually drove Taleb out of the financial services industry. The more he studied the markets and the more sophisticated his analysis became, the more convinced he was that the enterprise of predicting the future was totally hopeless. We love him for that. Randomness enchants the world. Who wants to live a statistically average life? Who wants to live in a world of 90% probability? Taleb certainly doesn't. In fact, in the midst of his ruminations, the full import of his thought comes clear. He writes, quote, "Imagine a speck of dust next to a planet 1 billion times the size of the Earth. The speck of dust represents the odds in favor of you being born. The huge planet would be the odds against it. Now that's beautiful. You are a miracle. You are a random occurrence so incredibly unlikely that the fact you're reading this is beyond amazing. In fact, it's just this side of the impossible. That's a beautiful, mystical place to take any reader.